if I'm making $500 per month on one thing, right? It's big, it's large. So, and then the tenant left, and I'm paying that mortgage 3 months. It's all gone.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Angels, Exits, and Acquisitions. Today, my guest is Igor. And Igor runs the Vista Fund, which is a multifamily investment fund. And he talks about his journey from Russia to Los Angeles and how he got into the world of investing and raising capital for multifamily and some of the really critical things you need to think about when you go into this world, including how you position yourself for success. So, take a listen, take a watch, and as always, like, subscribe, and share, and look forward to seeing your comments. Take care.
Welcome to Angels, Exits, and Acquisitions, the place to learn how to fund, scale, exit, and massively profit as an angel investor or entrepreneur. Brought to you by the Angel Investors Network. And now, here's your host, Jeff Barnes.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Angels, Exits, and Acquisitions. I'm your host, Jeff Barnes. I'm here today with Igor. Igor, how are you?
Jeff, I'm doing really well. Thank you for asking, and thank you for having me on the show. Super excited.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Now, Igor, right before we got started, we were saying that you live down in the Los Angeles area, which is where I'm originally from, and we were talking a little bit about that. But why don't you go ahead and give people a little bit of your background, talk to them about how you got to where you're doing, what you're doing over there at the Vista Fund.
Oh, yeah. So I'm always thinking, how far back should I go? But again, I would love to lead with Russia. So I was born in Russia, and I was back through the really cool change because the country was shifting from communism right into democracy, which is amazing. It was very, very challenging, but it's amazing time to see that's, blooming and growing. And then the way we actually I never thought about United States. And that was just one moment when my wife's brother was drafted by Clippers. So, and then it's 2005. He's like a young dude, 6'9", going into the league, right? And it was a moment when I first time ever visited the United States, and for me, it was like, oh wow, I never been actually before, and I was like, that's a different world. There's different concept, right? The ideas, but again, I never thought about that. So I was still working as a assistant judge. I had a JD degree, and in 2010, which is 5 years right after. So I had not a best experience working at the court because I was working as assistant judge at the court, and there was a lot of different things going on. So which is not internally me. So I was like, I'm not agreed to do this, right, for the lifetime. And I thought it's going to be justice and I'm going to be working for a law, but it was a little different experience. So, and I said, let's take a break. So we just built a house with my wife, and she said, well, let's go and visit my family in the United States. And I'm like, okay, that sounds really good. Why? Because in November, it was snowy and probably minus 1, 2 Celsius. And then in California, it was Manhattan Beach back then. So it was like plus 20 Celsius. It's like, wow, that's a big shift. That's exactly what I want to experience. And once we landed, and it was Manhattan, I still remember that as today, it was Manhattan Beach Pier, right? That's 2009, November, December-ish. And people are still in the flip-flops, right? In the shorts and the t-shirt. I was like, oh my God. Like I felt like I was, I was like, why nobody told me so you can lead like that? Everybody's smiling, everybody's relaxed. And, like all of those cities by the beach, right? So it's a different experience. And I was like, oh my goodness, I want to experience something like that. So, and that's how we moved. And that was just the beginning of our U.S. journey.
Wonderful. Yeah, I can't imagine that moving from Russia to Los Angeles, of all places, was the easiest thing to do, and definitely a little bit of a culture shock, right?
It's huge. That was a big time, right? And the biggest difference was, it took me about, I would say, good 5 years. Number one, I had the very strong intention. I want to really blend into the society. There's different cultures, right? A lot of people say, I don't need to learn English. I don't need to know history. I don't need to do any of that, right? Because I can stay within my peer group, right? I can be part of the Korean community forever, right? And you don't need, and my case was, I want to blend into the community. I do really understand, right, the mentality. I want to just shift my mentality. And that was a huge paradigm for me. Like it was just a shift of my brain. So like I said, it was like, if you imagine computer, right, it was just erase the whole hard drive. And I start to really accumulate the knowledge, the basis, right, the culture, right, the, all of those feelings, which is, again, it's all different. And I think that was just a huge experience for me. And then the most important, I projected the future of my kids. And I said, this is what I wanted them to experience in the future, though.
Yeah. Well, that's important too. I think a lot of folks will really appreciate and respect that because, when you move to a city like Los Angeles, and I've lived in LA, I've lived in some of the biggest cities in our country. I've been to all of them, I think. Well, there's this, mentality for a lot of folks. Like you said, they can go right to their peer group. They can go live in, Little Italy. They can go live in Chinatown. They can go live in the Russian district, and they can be surrounded by, folks from, the old world, so to speak. And there's no need, because that community is so large, there's no need to actually, like you said, learn English necessarily and learn the culture of a lot of Americans and whatnot. And America is a melting pot, so it's hard to say what that actually looks like. But on the other hand, I think just being able to learn the language that 99% of Americans speak is pretty important, probably pretty empowering for you too, right?
Oh yeah. So and I just want to mention that adult school system, right, of the United States. I was fascinated by that thing. So because it's subsidized by the government, right, and it's part of each probably LAUSD district and school. And the huge part was, so we found a real good school in Cerritos, California, which is just bought the whole equipment from Apple. It was like brand new computers, all the technology, right? It was the blend between you can learn to speak good language, but you can also learn something very, very applicable to your business and to your future, right, development. And that's exactly what we did. So we probably spent about 1 year just really schooling every single day without doing anything, no business, nothing, right? And then we start maybe a little less. And then we started the business. We came in 2009 and we started the first business 2010 in March. So we got the green cards in June, I think, right? Maybe earlier than that. So because we were playing the high level sports, I was a professional water polo player. My wife was a professional basketball player. So we got extraordinary green cards because we were like well known. And they asked us to prove whatever we saying in case, and that we were able to prove it by just newspaper publications and just the different statistics, right? Online presence and stuff like that. And from that on, it was just my personal development journey of, okay, how can you do marketing? How can you, because we opened the business, and what we did, because we were like just working basketball academy for kids. And it was, the most fascinating thing was we had a little mastermind, and people were saying, oh, you're going to open, but no, they said the Russians will be teaching how to play basketball, African Americans in California. I was like, and everybody was laughing, and they were like, and we did know better. So, and probably if I knew back then how much is competition in that side of that business, right, we're going to stop, right? But then we didn't know anything, and we're like, let's go full force. And people actually appreciated the difference in that way was the culture, because the Euro style of playing was a lot more focused on development and skills, whether just a game time. And then in the US, it was a lot on the game time and the weekends and competitions. And then people start to recognize that pattern. So we do really focus on development, not the game performance. And that's what the lack was. So the kids didn't have enough focus on development part, and the business start to grow. People start to feel the genuine feedback, right, from coaches, from program, from business, right? And it was just all, for me, it was not even the work, because my path was, I had the degree in PE teaching and coach, right? In 2000, maybe like a 2, I would say, right? 3. But I tried internship, but the salary of PE teacher in Russia was like $100 per year. Maybe like I'm just exaggerating, but that's something insane. How come I can support my family of doing that? It's going to be very tough. It's changed a lot now, but before then, so it was like pretty tough. And remember, it's the 1990s. Like it's all right. civil rust, like every single.
As my kids would say, the 1900s. Yeah.
Yes. That's a good look. That's it. I should probably take that. So, and like I said, and I found my pattern in the pursuit to the JD, right? And it was, I really love the law, right? And I really love for the people being able to just protect now through the law, right? But again, what I'm saying is here, so that whole pattern, when it came back, when I tried internship, I really love working with kids. When we came to United States, I was like, oh my goodness, now I can do both things, right? I can do work with kids, right? And then being able to touch their, development, right? Or the future, because it's a lot more than just a sport. You really teach them the life lesson. So, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, because of that passion, internal passion of doing something, right? People start to recognize that pattern. They're like, oh, we want to join you. Like, and there's more and more people because they start to share the feedback, right? So that's how we were able to actually build the first business, which became profitable. It was in probably a couple of years. So we start to get more and more clients. We opened 1, 2, 3. So to the point we opened 9 different locations in Los Angeles. And we start to really that's what another external development kick in. So you're not the coach, you're not the person who's teaching you like a business, full force business owner. Now you think about the payroll and, hiring good people. And that's another full cycle of, rewire yourself, rewire your brain, and really changing internally from, doing something to becoming a leader, right? And leading the people. And now you just have a different responsibility. I'll stop here.
Yeah. That's perfect, right? It's the whole E-myth. It's you're a great technician. That's wonderful. That's probably how you get the first clients in the door, but that's not how you scale. And if you want to scale the business, you got to step into that leadership role and put on the CEO hat and all the other ones that go with it. And there was something you said there that I thought was really interesting, because I find this too, which is when you're coaching kids, any sport, probably anything in general.
Actually do that.
Yeah, there's this one thing that the parents or somebody's telling you to go do, which is, teach them baseball, teach them basketball, whatever. Because I coach Little League. But you're also teaching them how to build the skills, the grit, and the mentality for the real world, right? I had a kid just this week. I'm coaching fall baseball right now, and these kids were goofing off in practice. They're not paying attention. They're not learning the skills. And the parents told me, because I told them how I am. I'm military disciplined, and so I keep it pretty strict. And if they goof off, they're going to be running. And the parents all said, yep, we're fine with that. We don't want them goofing off either. We want them learning. Great. So guess what? We're running. And then they come back and they goof off more, run again, come back. By the end of practice, this one kid's like barely even moving just because of his attitude, not because he couldn't run anymore. He goes, I'm here to learn baseball, not learn how to run. Say, well, can't learn baseball if you don't pay attention, huh? Just like anything in life. You can't learn anything new if you're constantly goofing off and not paying attention to the lesson at hand. So you're constantly trying to teach them things that are way over their head. Let's face it, gone. They don't care about that at that age, but eventually they'll start to respect it and appreciate it. At least that's my hope. And so that's awesome. So you turned the passion that you had into a business, and you found out that you fit a need, right? Typical email, like I said, and then eventually you go and you scale that thing up. But that's not what you're doing today. So how did you transition from this guy who loves to coach kids and run this business of teaching, these kids these basketball skills to now running a fund doing multifamily investing?
That's a great, that's a great question. So I think it started back in Russia. Actually, it's not even here. So, and it's tough. Number one, there's something about delayed gratification, right? And there's something about being frugal in your life. And so my mentality was, I will not be playing sports forever. It's very, it's interesting, but it's very short journey. And a lot of times when the professional athletes, and I talk to them until I just talked to the baseball guy yesterday. So, and you feel like it's going to be forever. And it does feel like artificial world as well. Why? Because you're doing something like you really love, or let's say you just playing the game. Again, you rarely get paid for playing a game, right? Unless you poker play, something like that, right? But again, so you playing the game, you love it, you're in emotions, and all of a sudden at the end of the month, you get a chunk of money. And in Russia, it's different from the United States because a lot of necessities was taken care of. You don't need to spend time for living. You don't need to spend time for car and money for car, right? Because it's all paid off for. It's there's no loans. So basically now you're left off with a couple of choices. You want to go out and buy something for yourself, like a luxury items. You got car, you got jewelry, you go to, I don't know, to nightclubs and stuff and partying. Or you can just start to think through the future, or what is going to be looking like when you stop playing. And a lot of athletes, and that was not different for me. So you don't realize how much of the gap it is, like how much of like, it's you like jumping from the cliff. Once you stop playing, no one needs you, unless you're LeBron James, right? Or like a Tiger Woods. No one needs you. Like none of
Right.
people, none of
They
it.
want you while you're on top. That's about it.
None of that mattered to them. Like it's zero, like tolerance for people. Like they don't care. So when I was trying to be a lawyer, right after my water polo career, there's no firm who wants to hire. They all ask one thing: what is the experience? I was like, zero. Right? I just stopped playing water polo. Like, wow, we don't care. Like, we don't need you, boo. So they don't tell me, but that's what the feedback, right, was after I did maybe 20 interviews with different like law groups. And so the same was for the sport. And I was thinking through the process, like how I'm going to leave after the sports, right? And I started to buy single units. I started to buy apartment. And my first paradigm was, again, the paradigm shift when I see, oh, my mom got an apartment unit. And I was like, you know what? I heard back in my early ages, right? Somebody can give it and key and people will be living in place and they can exchange money for that. Because just imagine that one concept, 1990s in Russia was just alien. Like, what is that thing?
And then,
rental, real estate investor. There is imagine no internet, right? No YouTube, no books, right? No Tony Robbins. Like there's zero, nothing. Like there's no informational field. Not to say people are not super supportive as well, because that's the civil rights, the civil war. So I was feeling like I'm on my own, right, to figure that out.
right.
So, but again, I got the unit, so I just remodeled that. I moved my parents into the new one. So, and they gave it to the two guys who were working at the law firm, and they spared that. They just split that payment for the apartment. It was the great work. And it's like for a couple of years, they were paying, they were always on time. And that was my first proof of concept. I was like, oh my goodness. So, and the other paradigm was the amount they were paying monthly was equal to my mom's salary. So when she see that, she was like, oh my God, like she was like mind blowing. I'm working like every single day, Monday through Friday. So, and I think it was like 36,000 rubles. That was like back then. So, and that was like equality. And then she was like, oh my God. Now I start to understand that. So we got the second, I said to myself, what if we multiply that thing by 10? So now you got 10 incomes coming in. So that was just to struck my mind, and I started to work that direction. So I started to acquire the second one, the third one, and then I started to become a little more sophisticated. Okay, what if I get 4 under one roof, right? So we start to scale, right, within the roofs as well. So, and that's how I brought that concept to United States as well. But I didn't know better first of all, and I think it's a regular story for everybody. I bought a single family house, right? I was like, oh, everybody's doing this. It's like a fix and flip, right? It's got to be working as well. And it did work for me. So I bought the first, I don't know if you know where's Reseda, right? I bought a house in Reseda, California.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and what I was looking for, I want to get instant value at. It was just a pretty bad condition. So we just put some, it was like about $70,000 for a model, right? And change the backyard, right? A little bit of kitchen work and stuff like that. That was a beautiful place to live. And now I start to face the problem because I leveraged that thing. So I didn't put like $500,000, right? It was like 40 to 5 for price though. So, and I used a bank loan, right? And now, okay, so I finished my remodeling in 6 months, and then another 3 months, I couldn't get a tenant. So I'm paying this mortgage freaking.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So if my margin, I don't know, let's say 100, I think it was $500 per month. If I'm making $500 per month on one thing, right? It's big, it's large. So, and then the tenant left and I'm paying that mortgage 3 months, it's all gone. I was like, man, that's something like,
that stings, huh?
working.
Yeah.
It's like something is a little weird. And then I was like, should I scale that thing by 10? That was another thought of myself. Should I buy 10 houses? I was like, no way. What if like 5 families, 5 mortgages, right? And and all of that led me to apartment complex. I start to ask my mentors, I start to ask my peer groups, what do you guys do? I don't see you guys own like a 25 houses. And I start to research, right? What does the portfolio looks like? Is it a bunch of houses, right? And you just remodel those and fix them and just wait and, get that equity appreciation. And people start to say, no, we don't do that. So we just scale it inside of the one roof. So we want to get 100 units, right? Because we got, management piece in place. We got a manager who lives there. They fix it in 1 day and stuff. And all of that started to really it was like another aha moment for me. So now I understand how can I scale that thing.
Before continuing, please subscribe and share this video to help us reach more people and stay notified of our latest releases. Now, let's continue watching and learning.
So you got to a point where you're like, all right, single family home, fix and flip, rent it out to a tenant. Not a great idea because, there's this thing called vacancy rates. And all of a sudden you go from 100% occupied to 100% vacant. It can happen like that. And I remember doing that myself. I had a few properties and I was renting them out. And it was great when the money was coming in, the mortgage is taken care of, everything's good, I'm making a little bit extra money. Then they move out. Oh no. And invariably, I don't know if you experienced this, but the tenants never seem to have enough money on the security deposit to cover all the fixes that you need to make once they leave. It's never very fun. So I never made the transition into multifamily myself, but we have clients to do, and we have funds that we've been invested in and helped grown. But walk me through your journey. Like, what did it take to go from I have this idea to where you are now, and like, where are you now? Like, how many multifamily properties do you guys have? How many investments have you guys done? What kind of fund do you have? All of that stuff.
Gotcha. So yeah, the idea came. I think it was 2020, and then I was like walking around. So there's two ideas. One, I want to sell the full thing in my country, right? I just want to close that chapter for sure, and I need to transfer money and just reinvest it. So I don't want to be sitting right on the bank accounts. And that was first. The second was, okay, so if I'm in California and anything you want to buy, I don't know, let's say it's $10 million. Let's put the minimum rate, and probably more than 20 plus million, right? So you need to get a large down payment. Can I do that? Do I want to do it, right? Without the experience? No. So I need to get the partners. So let's go through the partnership, right? Let's go through the masterminds. And I started to get into the syndication model as an idea. I was like, oh, syndication, tell me more. So what does that mean? First of all, I felt like it's an absolute scam. People put together money and they buy. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I think first time ever I heard it, maybe 2017 or so, there's a lady named Katie Fedeke. She was on the Bigger Pockets podcast. I was, because of the single family, I was a really big Bigger Pockets fan. I don't know if you remember that platform when it was a Josh Dorkin. It wasn't the Brandon Turner yet. So he was like leading that thing, and Brandon was just a podcast co-host for the podcast. That's what it is. And then on one of those podcasts, the Kat Fedke came in and she's talking about Utah. We're doing development. We're doing the hotel. We did like 200 units. That was just over the top of my head. I was like, oh my goodness, it's like billions of trillions of dollars you need to do this thing. So the brain usually shuts that down. I shut it down in 2017. I was like, it's not for me. It's too much. I'm not ready for that, blah, blah, blah. So all that bullshit, internal dialogue, right? And then 2020, I was like, okay, syndication makes sense, easy, can do that. I can test it. Let's go. So first of all, we said, okay, let's place our own money before we can actually have a fund, before we can open that idea to the people. Why? Because I'm not confident of selling something I never tested. So, and we start to really place the capital. I mean, idea number one, there's no source when you can log in, or you just go to the website and there's a list of syndicators. Here's a list of good ones. Here's a list of bad ones. Here's a list who's failed. Here's a scam. So there's nothing like that. We're like, okay, how do we know? Okay, we need to team up with people. We need to go to different events. Like I was like a full force in every single month going to that mastermind. Okay, different groups, like a paid, like, I don't know, trainings and stuff like that. So we built the spreadsheet of 380 different operators. So that was the first step. And then out of those guys, we start to research what they actually do. There's a couple things we were super interested in. There's location diversification, manager diversification, and asset class diversification. So, and we want to test all of them, saying, okay, the first two ever we did, it was in California. So we invest in California, we see how it goes. We start to understand there's a lot more government, right? The restrictions and stuff, right? On the tenant side. So they are on a tenant side as a body, right, of the government. So, and we said to ourselves, do we want to be there? Probably not. One test different states because of the syndication model. So it gives you a chance to participate, right, on a safe, secure way, because it's all given to the operator, right? He's going to be the one responsible. He's going to be the one doing the work, right? You're going to be investor. You can watch the reports. You can see, you can fly to the property. You can check it out if you want to, if you're more confident that way. So, and then we start to go out of the state because of the syndication model. That's another, for us, was another huge benefit, because in my idea, having the business and operations, I would never want to be in operations again. I want to be on the financial side of that aspect, but I don't want to go into the operation. I don't want to become operator. So, but I want to find a really good operator, sophisticated operator, right, in different states. That was the second idea. We start to go out to different states and test it with different products. The couple of things we did, there was a ground up development. I'm just giving the story background. So, and they both failed, both of them, right? Big time. So one of them was bankrupt, right? Bankrupt right now, right? And then the other one, it's the construction cost tripled, not doubled, it tripled. So from 3, it became 8.5. So, wow. And then the delay of the construction was by 1 year. So if you take all that into the account, it just pushed all the returns. Probably it's slashed it by 2. So, and the time frame became, instead of 5 years, like 10 years. So we learned that hard way. So we said, okay, listen, this is a great lesson. Thanks God we didn't give that choice to investors. So we tested with our own money, right? Because now we know if you want to go into construction, you probably want to do 10 times due diligence, and you still want to say no to the, and again, I'm talking about myself, right, and our fund thesis. But again, that's how we just vet and understand what we want to be. And then along that side, we probably did about 7 different investments, value add. So the existing buildings with people in place. Maybe it's not a good tenants, but there's something needs to be done there, right? Maybe a light renovation, right, remodeling, blah, blah, blah. So, and those type of projects we start to see through 2021, 2022, they were doing really well, right? Unless you get that adjustable interest rate, right? Which is, we were really going into the things where it's a fixed interest rate. And then I think only 1 or 2 where we get into the ones like with adjustable rate, they got a bridge loan, right? The operator got a bridge loan. And then, so we got hit hard by those. So that was another learning lesson. We said, okay, let's just take something which was a fixed rate. We know what's going to be in the future, at least 5-10 years for a time frame. So if that worked and it was a fixed rate right now, and you can improve that NOI, you can do something inside of that building, which is going to be like growing steadily, 1, 2, 3% per year. So we're happy with that. We're not going to lose the principal, because the idea was for us, right, not to lose the principal. Number one, the first idea always for us was, whatever you do, if you can give us principal back after 5 years, I'm going to be happy. If you lost it, that's a disaster for us, right? If you lost the principal balance, right, that's a disaster. So if we made 0 money, I'm fine with that. But if you get back that principal to us, that's huge win for you. But if we double that money, that's something like unbelievable, right? Stuff like that. So what I'm saying is, I think we've got into the 22 different syndication, right? Just testing the market, understanding it, and then after that, we start to open that Pandora box for investors. And it was just a close cycle of friends and family first. I was like going out and talking to people, and people who probably see me succeeding in business, and then real estate ventures. I was talking to them through the year. So they start to really, I want to be part of that success. So tell me more. So what do you guys do? Because everybody knows I think we've been sold really, really well of real estate as a passive investment. And if you buy like a small apartment, and then I was like, that's true. That's a really good experience to have, to really understand how that works, to really understand the challenges inside of that box, right? And maybe unless you have 200 different, houses at the very, very low basis cost, you bought them like very, very low, right? And you delegate it to the property manager, and the property management is like killing that job. So that's might be a model for me. But if you don't have that capacity of owning like multiple, maybe 100 of those houses, that's going to be a very, very challenging path. And what I'm starting to talk to people, I say, listen, you can do 1 or 2 units and probably spend another 5 to 10 years to really understand how that works and make break even or something like that. Or maybe just wait the equity appreciation if it's appreciating, right? So, or you can go into the syndication model, and people start to join. They start to understand, oh, you know what? I might not go like all in, but I'm going to test you with 100K. Let me put you 100K. Let's see how is that going to be working. And I'm going to do my side hustle on the side. So basically, I start to really talk to people, and they start to diversify. And then from the family and friends cycle, we start to go out and we go to public and we speak in different events, and people start to join from outside of the circle, right? And then, So we opened the project number 1. So it was just a value add. And then when we got hit by the adjustable interest rate, so we got full equity play. It was just entitlement of the land. And now we're doing the projects in DeSoto, Texas, right, which is going to be about another value add opportunity because of the market shift. I'm going to stop, Jeff.
No, it's a lot of great information, Igor. A couple of really important points is that, one, you did the same thing, which is that you did when you were coaching the basketball, which is, hey, let's go find a need in the market and let's fill that need, right? And you tested something, you had to pivot, you had to change from single family to multifamily or from single family to, hey, ground up development, let's try that, right? Really lucrative. And I think a really important point here is that you tested it with your own money. You didn't try and risk somebody else's money to go test this. You found out what didn't work. Then you tested again. You found out what did work. And the second thing that was really important that you said, I think people need to pay attention to, is where do you personally fit in the business model? And what you said is you learned all this stuff. You decided you didn't want to be the operator. That's really, really important. I think a lot of people don't even have clarity around where they personally fit in a business model like this. So yeah, that's incredible. I love this. I'd love to talk more about this and keep going, but we are at time right now. So what I want to do, Igor, is so people can find you. Where would they go online? Where can they connect with you and learn more about Avista Fund and you?
Because of my sports background, I call it winrealestategame.com. So they can download the ebook. So for people who just start in that journey in syndication, it's sometimes it's overwhelming. You can download that ebook. It's going to be a good start for you. So winrealestategame.com. So if they want to go to the website, it's just avistafund.com. And then if they can shoot me an email, that's going to be amazing as well. It's igor@avistafund.com. I'll be happy to respond.
Beautiful. We'll make sure we get all that information in the show notes as well. So if you are watching this or listening to it, make sure you check out those show notes so that you can get access to Igor and learn more about his syndication, his fund, and having somebody else do it. Because that's the other thing you said, Igor. Real estate's not really a passive investment unless you're investing in somebody else to do all the work. So that's what you get with Igor. So wonderful. Thanks so much for your time today, Igor. Really appreciate it.
Jeff, thanks for having me. It was just absolute pleasure, right? And hope you guys hope you guys can take something, right, for yourself out of it.
Absolutely. And like I said, go check out the show notes, like, subscribe, and share. This is Jeff Barnes signing off. Take care.